If I had to pick between the original three Indiana Jones films, that would be a tough call. Raiders is considered a cinematic masterpiece, and Last Crusade follows the same formula, but brings Sean Connery into the mix as Indy's cynical father. Temple of Doom stands out to a lot of people like a sore thumb, no doubt because it's so radically different from its bookend films. Even Steven Spielberg himself admitted to this one being his least favorite of the trilogy. Maybe that's why I gravitate toward this one so much. Even as a kid, I remember watching this one a little more than the other two. Don't get me wrong, I love all the movies, including Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But the dark atmosphere, the over-the-top action sequences, the slight nod to other movies, even the annoying characters have their charm. People often try to compare lounge singer Willie Scott with the bold-as brass heroine of the first film, Marianne Ravenwood, and I honestly don't understand. There's no grounds for comparison. It's like comparing apples to oranges. People have said that Willie is just too annoying.
Trouble with her is the noise.
But that's what her character calls for. In Raiders, Marion was the perfect foil to Indiana Jones. She had that damsel in distress quality, but she also had a lot of spunk.
I'm working on it.
Well, whatever you're doing, do it faster!
Willie is the complete opposite, and she works in a different way. She's the upper-class, spoiled little rich girl who's used to being pampered by her surrogate masters. So when Indiana rescues her, it makes sense that she has no desire to be anywhere near him. And her reaction when she finds out that a little kid is driving the car?
Crying out loud, there's a kid driving the car!
Priceless. Then there's Short Round, who most of us remember from the Goonies. Again, it's a different kind of relationship than with Sala and Indy in the first film, but it works in a different way. Short Round is made to be a sympathetic character. Indy explains that he caught Short Round trying to pick his pocket when he was younger, and took him in despite the fact because both of his parents were killed. Throughout the movie, he has some annoying scenes, but he always seems to come through for Indy, and unlike Sala, he actually makes it through to the end of the film. Now let's talk about the story. It's a little more far-fetched, but when you think about it, they both deal with a form of religious artifact. As a matter of fact, all the Indy movies do. But whereas the first and third films deal with the artifacts that the Nazis were after, this one deals with Indian mythology, in which an ancient cult called the Thuggee comes to a quaint village, steals a sacred stone, and enslaves the children. When Indy washes ashore, they assume he's the savior prophesied by the gods to bring the stone back. Indy at first just believes it to be myth, but winds up going to Pankot Palace and comes face to face with the cult's leader, Mola Ram. Now Indy not only has to take back the stones, but has to fight against his own madness when he is forced to drink the blood of Shiva and become one of the Thuggee clansmen. He also has to fight his way through the guards and rescue the children. For a movie that's pretty much constrained to a dark cave, it's pretty epic. Then there are the action scenes. Again, people complain that they're too over the top. That's not to say that all the Indy movies didn't have their ridiculous scenes. In Raiders, Indy hangs on to the bottom of a moving vehicle and maneuvers his way to the back end. In Last Crusade, a plane that gets shot down actually passes Indy and his father as they get away by car. And in Crystal Skull, you've got, well, let's face it, just about every action sequence in that movie was blown needlessly out of proportion. In Temple of Doom, you've got a gunfight, a car chase, a dive from a plane using a raft, raving rapids, people getting their hearts pulled from their chests, a bunch of disgusting-looking insects, a minecart chase, and a finale that takes place on an overhanging rope bridge over a gator-infested lake. I know a lot of people look for some semblance of reality in movies, even in fantasy films like these, and that's perfectly fine. After a while, you can't just expect us to take everything in good faith. But to be fair, I go to movies to escape reality. Sometimes the more removed from reality it is, the more fun it is to watch. That's why people go to see movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, and those movies really aren't anything special, but I have to say some of the action scenes in those movies are impressive. And when it comes down to it, all the movies ask us to suspend disbelief. They take ancient legends or references from the Bible and mold a story around these mystical artifacts. They're epic cinematic treasure hunts. I just think it's kind of funny how people set their own standards for how over-the-top a stunt's supposed to be. Whether you're dropping to a cliff from a plane using an inflatable raft or trying to dodge supernatural spirits while they're going around melting the flesh off of Nazis, it's all fantasy, and you take from it what you will. I especially love the ending, where Indy returns to the village with a stone, and then all the kids start swarming the village from behind him. It's a really satisfying ending that I felt wasn't bittersweet like in the other two films. It ends with the camera pulling back as Willie and Indy have their final kiss. Short Round's closing his eyes, as you'd expect him to, and they're surrounded by thankful villagers. The whole film's epic. Does it fare as well as Raiders or Last Crusade? Hell, I'd probably put this one on my top 10 list of favorite films, and that's saying something. Yeah, right at the number 10 spot. That's a good fit for it. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It may be Spielberg's least favorite, and it may be everyone else's, but I'm sticking with my choice. It's the definitive indie film, containing everything these films are known for.
We are going to die!